بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد. We have a request from one of the hadith disciples to give a brief explanation or a brief discussion on the issue of al-Qaza. Al-Qaza with a qaf, a zay and an ayn, which is rendered in the English to mean trimming parts of the head and leaving others, shaving parts of the head and leaving others, or as somebody may say, getting a fade. Is it permissible to have a fade? Or the proper terminology according to barbers and people who deal with hair is a tapered hairstyle. Is it allowed for a man to have a fade? Whatever type of fade he may have. Faded neck, feathered neck, tapered neck, temple fade, high top fade, bald fade, whatever the case may be. Also for women, is it permissible for women to do this or have this concept about Qaza? Or can a man, for example, or maybe even a woman, but another issue that pertains to this is a mohawk. Is it permissible for a Muslim to rock a mohawk, where he shaves the sides of his head, or she shaves the sides of her head and has hair on top in the middle? Or not even shave, but just trim and cut. Is it permissible? Alright? And I'm sure there are other issues that people can come up with regards to al-Qaza. So we have to deal with this issue with the following points. First and foremost is, what is al-Qaza in the Arabic language and in the Islamic Sharia? And what do the fuqaha say about al-Qaza? Then we have to look at what is the ruling on al-Qaza. Is it haram? Is it disliked? Is it permissible, unprescribed? Is it recommended? Is it obligatory? Then that's based off of the text of the Kitab and the Sunnah. Then we look at what the ulama say, what the people of knowledge said, the different madhahib of the ulama, and now we have a few other issues such as the modern day application of those ancient concepts. So first and foremost, al-Qaza, we can understand it linguistically, and we can also understand it Islamically when we look into the actual adillah, when we look into the actual proofs and evidences from the Kitab and from the Sunnah. But before we go that far, this is not the topic of this session, nor do we have enough time right now to make an entire lecture or a series of lectures or lessons on this, but it's very important for the Muslim to understand that there are general rules and basic principles with regards to hair in al-Islam. With regards to hair in al-Islam. Some of the people of knowledge from the later ulama who mentioned this was Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, that hair in the Sharia is of three categories. Three categories of hair. The first is the type of hair that we've been ordered and commanded to remove. The second is the type of hair we've been ordered to leave. And the third type of hair is the hair which isn't spoken about explicitly in the Kitab and in the Sunnah. Not remove, not keep it. It's just in the middle. It's mubah. It's unprescribed. That's one issue. And that's a very beneficial concept for the Muslim to understand. A hair or type of hair that a Muslim is ordered to remove is, let's say, hair beneath his or her armpits, or pubic areas like this, or a man's mustache. Alright? As Zayd ibn Arqam radiallahu anhu reported that the Messenger of Allah said, مَنْ لَمْ يَأْخُذْ مِنْ شَارِبِهِ فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He who does not trim his mustache isn't from us. And the hadith is collected by Imam al-Nasa'i and others with an authentic chain of narration. And there are other issues with regards to the mustache, such as, is it permissible to shave the mustache, or is it just allowed to trim it, cut over top of the lip, etc. Al-Muhim, the mustache is not to be worn and grown fully. Unfortunately, so many Muslims today have large mustaches and either no beards or very thin beards, and that's unfortunate. That's a musibah. And we don't want to go too far off track too far off the topic, but that is opposite to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, as we're going to mention. And it's also a means of imitating the kuffar, and it's also a means of the ideological brainwashing that the non-Muslims have done on the Muslims. And we've talked about this, I believe, in the issue or the election which we spoke about polygamy in the Kitab and Sunnah. How the non-Muslims, not only did they conquer many Muslim lands and colonize them, but they also conquered and colonized the minds of the Muslims and the brains of the Muslims and the hearts of the Muslims. And that's even worse. Alright? To conquer someone's mind is 10 times worse than to conquer their land. Alright? And they brainwashed the Muslims, and they got the Muslims to look at their Islamic cultural values to be bad, to be ancient, to be old, outdated, to be disgusting, unkept, uncouth, etc. And the modern, Western, European ways are neat, clean, civilized, modern, so on and so forth. It's very unfortunate. And you find the majority of the Muslim men today is they do the exact opposite of the Prophet's guidance. They have a huge, huge mustache and a shaved face. And if you were to say to some Muslims, unfortunately, or even some people who are learned, or some people who claim to be learned, trim the mustache, let the people grow the beards. La, they say this is from the peelings, this is from the rinds of Islam. It's not the actual fruit. It's kushur. It's not the actual meat of the deen, but it's just on the outside. It's just the surface. It's not important. Iman is in the heart. Faith is in the heart. Growing your beard and trimming your mustache is a custom of Arabs. It's not from the deen. They will bring 1,000,001 excuses. 1,000,001 excuses. So you ask yourself, if the general people are blindly following the kuffar and following the West or the East or any other non-Muslim civilization, and this is a learned man, a man who's a doctor or mufti or sheikh or a mola or a mullah or whoever he is, and this is what he says, it's very, very sad, almost hopeless situation for the general layman Muslim. And it shows the importance of seeking knowledge of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So Muhammad ﷺ, he said, if you don't take from your mustache, you're not from us. So does that statement, you're not from us, does that sound like it's just simple issue in the religion? It's just a style, it's just a custom, it's just the peeling of the orange, it's just the rinds of the lime or the lemon? No, it shows the seriousness of growing the beard and trimming the mustache. And that's another concept with regards to hair. Moving on. We don't have too much time for that. Another concept is the permissibility or impermissibility of a man or woman growing or shaving or trimming their hair. Can a man have long hair or not? If a man is allowed to have long hair, how long can it be? To his ears, to his neck, to his shoulder blades, past his shoulders, etc. Is a woman allowed to trim her hair? Very important concept, especially in modern times, in which it's very stylish for many women to have short hair. Now, we don't want to go too far into cultural issues, but it's very important because the customs of the Muslims or the Arabs before Islam and when Islam came, the women grew their hair. You have modern Western women in which most women trim their hair, especially when they get older. Is it permissible for a woman to have low hair? Now, me, myself, I used to be a barber for many years out of my life when I was younger, and I used to cut hair. And I cut men's hair and also women's hair back then. And there are many types of hairstyles, as you all know, that women get and have. And it's a short hairstyle. And it's a stylish hairstyle. And she has her hair done. She has her earrings on, her lipstick, or whatever the case may be. And it's clear and known that she's a woman. And it doesn't look like a man's appearance. Others may say, no, it's imitating a man. That's another issue. Is it permissible for a woman to cut her hair? And if she can cut her hair, how much? How long? How short? That's an issue in itself. Alright? Moving on, another issue is imitating the disbelievers. We know that Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu reported that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam said, and the hadith has been collected by Imam Abu Dawood and others, such as Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal in his Musnad, and has, inshallah, a fair chain of narration. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, وَعِذْتُ بِالسَّيْفِ بَيْنِ السَّاعَةِ حَتَّى يُعْبُدَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ لَا شَرِيكَ لَهُ. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me with the sword, بَيْنِ يَدِ السَّيْفِ, before the coming of the last hour, before the coming of the day of judgment, for the purpose of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being worshipped alone without any partner. The Messenger of Allah he then says, وَجُعِلَ رِزْقِي تَحْتَ ظِلِّ رُمْحِي. He says, my sustenance is placed beneath the shade of my spear. وَجُعِلَتِ الذِّلَّةُ وَالصَّغَارُ عَلَى مَنْ خَالَفَ أَمْرِي. He says, and humiliation and baseness has been placed upon those who oppose my command. Those who go against my order, they'll be humiliated and disgraced. وَمَنْ تَشَبَّهَ بِقَوْمٍ فَهُوَ مِنْهُمْ. And whoever imitates a people is from them. Now that's the last part of the hadith, the highlighting part of the hadith that most people quote. But the very first part of the hadith that we just quoted in its full version is very important. And it assists you and it aids you in understanding the latter part of the hadith. It says that whoever imitates the people is from them. And that's a huge concept in itself. What is meant by imitating a people? What is the rule in imitating other than the Muslims? In dress, in style, in fashion, in food, in drink, and so on and so forth. Is it disliked? Is it haram? What about the things that are shared, that are general between Muslims and non-Muslims? Another concept is the permissibility or the impermissibility for a man to have something of a woman or a woman to have something of a man. We know that the authentic Sunnah has told us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala curses a man who imitates a woman, and also a woman who imitates a man. Men who are feminine and soft, and women who are masculine and they wish to imitate men. They are both cursed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. That's another issue. Okay? Now we have classical concepts, some we just explained with the proofs and evidence with the Kitab and Sunnah. And we have modern day concepts, such as style. Alright? Is it permissible for a woman to wear pants? Is it permissible for a woman to wear jeans? The reason why I'm bringing this up, this has nothing to do with hair, is because some time ago, women really didn't wear pants. Even in early American culture or British culture in the West, it wasn't common for a woman to wear pants. If a woman wore pants, let's say in the early 20th century or the 19th century, if she was found wearing pants, she would be accused of being a lesbian. Or she would be accused of trying to be a dyke. Or she would be accused of this and of that. Alright, now we have the whole entire feminist movement and all of that, all of those historical pieces of information. The point of the matter is, women during those times, even the non-Muslim women, they didn't wear pants. They had on dresses, long, wide, big dresses. And as time went on, and feminist movement became stronger and stronger, and there was more and more modernity, and less ideals, and values, and expansion, and so on and so on and so forth, then the wide dress became smaller and smaller and tighter until they began to wear pants. Women began to flood the workplaces, alright? And the different revolutions, the Industrial Revolution, the Great War, World War II, so on and so forth. Women being in the factories, women doing things, until women became into the actual military and armed forces. So therefore, this is all important for us to understand. There was a time women didn't wear pants. Now women do wear pants. There are types of pants, types of jeans, whatever the case may be, that are known to be specific to women. So is it a scientific, knowledge-based statement to say it's haram for women to wear pants? Because women wearing pants imitates men. That's a concept in itself. A woman coming from Pakistan is not like a woman coming from America. Whereas a woman from Pakistan, her ancestors, her parents, her grandparents, her forefathers, most of them, if not all of them, were Muslim. And there's a specific dress that she had that's different to a woman who accepted Islam in the streets of Philadelphia. And she has no Islamic culture. She has no Islamic values. Her Islamic culture and her Islamic values will be based off of the one who gave her shahada. The masjid to which she goes, to which she learns, whoever teaches her, to the man she gets married to, etc. It's a very crucial concept. And we spoke about this before. So we have several different conflicting views and issues with regards to modern day imitation of kuffar. Whereas it's become so widespread that Muslim women wear pants in the house under their overgarments. And there are some miskeen Muslim sisters, may Allah help them all, who wear pants outside without an excuse. We're not talking about somebody who lives in a place in which they're afraid of being a Muslim because they're going to be harmed and tortured, or a woman who has no way of making money to provide for herself or her children except by working. Look, we're talking about a woman who chooses to wear tight jeans outside of the house, who chooses to wear pants outside of the house, and she doesn't cover up. She doesn't wear her hijab. She doesn't wear her overgarment. without any excuse except for a weak iman. Alright? So these are all very important issues here. Before we even get into the Qaza concept, we must understand, and we must realize that there is a circle. And inside of that circle, there are more and more circles. Khair, inshallah. Enough of that. There are several different proofs and evidences with regards to al-Qaza being condemned in Islam and being looked down upon. From the most famous and the most authentic of them, first and foremost, is the hadith of Ubaydullah from Nafi', from Ibn Umar, that the Messenger of Allah alayhi naha an al-Qaza. He forbade Qaza. He forbade one to do Qaza. It's mentioned in Sahih Muslim that Ibn Umar was asked about al-Qaza. What is it? And he said, it's for parts of the boy child's hair to be shaved, or his head to be shaved, and other parts to be left. And another version states that that's the opinion of Ubaydullah ibn Umar, from the Tabi'een, and not Umar. Khair, inshallah. So that hadith is in Sahih Muslim. There's also another hadith in Sunnah Abi Dawood with an authentic chain of narration. Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu also reported that once the Prophet ﷺ saw a child which parts of his head were shaved and others were left, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he forbade them from that, and he said, leave all of it or shave all of it. Alright, and that's another authentic hadith. These two hadith here, as we said before, are from the most authentic and from the most famous of the proofs and evidences for Qaza being looked down upon in Islam. That's step 2. Step 3. What is the ruling on al-Qaza to the ulama? Is it A, haram, or is it B, just disliked? And what does al-Qaza mean? The majority of the fuqaha hold the opinion that al-Qaza is only disliked. It's makruh, karaha tanzih. It's not haram, but it's just disliked. Not saying that a Muslim should do something that's disliked. Not saying that it's, just do it because it's disliked, it's only disliked. La. We're not saying that, but we're clarifying the ruling. And that's another concept with regards to your iman right there. Just because something is disliked doesn't mean that you can just keep doing it. Just because something is makruh doesn't mean you just, scorn and disdain it. La. Doesn't mean that. You should stay away from it. However, the majority of the fuqaha, they say that it's makruh. There's another group of the ulama. From them is the Zahiri ulama, the ulama of the madhab al-Zahiri, that was established by Dawood ibn Ali al-Zahiri rahimahullah, from the great ulama of the 2nd century. And that madhab that was revolutionized, promoted, supported, and strongly, vehemently defended by Ibn Hazm al-Andalusi rahimahullah ta'ala. Khair, inshallah. They say that it is haram, and it's not only disliked. They say it's haram. The hadith clearly says that the Messenger of Allah naha, he forbade. And we know that in al-usul al-fiqh and the principles of legal theory, quote unquote, that's a proper translation, deducing the rulings and extracting them, is that if the Prophet ﷺ forbids something, then the rule of thumb is that it's haram until it's proven to be disliked. Whenever the Prophet ﷺ forbids or says don't or stay away from or avoid this, then the rule of thumb is that that act or that statement is unlawful until we have another hadith stating that the Prophet did it or he allowed the companions to do it, it was abrogated, it's just disliked, so on and so forth. So that is their proof. The other ulama, the jumhur ulama, they say that it's only disliked, and from the reasons that it's only disliked and not haram is because it's an adab, it's an act of etiquette or an act of dress, so on and so forth. Khair, inshallah. Those are the two main views of the ulama. So before we move any further, whether a fade pertains to qaza or not, whether you can get a mohawk or not, okay, whatever style you have that you may think is qaza, before you go any further, we understand that there are two rulings. One says that it is impermissible, and the other said it's disliked. So if you think that al-qaza is haram, and that's clear to you from the sunnah, then you shouldn't do qaza. However, the problem lies in, once again, forcing your view upon the next man. Forcing your opinion upon the next person. You run into the barbershop, la taqillah, you can't get a mohawk, ya akhi, it's haram. You can't do it. That's a problem. especially if the majority of the ulama said it wasn't. This doesn't mean that just because the majority of the ulama say something is makruh, it doesn't mean that that's correct. Look, the proof and evidence could support and state that it's haram. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the concept of al-inkar, forbidding someone from doing it, repudiating and criticizing someone else. You say, I read in a book, I heard in a lesson that the Prophet ﷺ said A, B, C, that it's haram. He forbade it. You shouldn't do it. That's more than sufficient. But the problem is when you force your view upon the next man. He says, well, the country in which I come from, the ulama, they gave me a fatwa and said it's only disliked. Khair, inshallah. Moving on. What is al-qaza? As we just explained, some of the people now say that al-qaza is to shave parts of the head and to leave other parts. So, when you get a fade, do you shave parts of your head? That's firstly. Or do you just trim it? And if you do shave parts, is that the shaving that's meant by, or that was explained in the, or that was spoken about in the time of the Prophet ﷺ? Whereas you shave the head and leave a patch of hair here. Is that what's meant? It's another concept. Other ulama say that this pertains to a young child and not necessarily a grown man. When a young child, the nape of his neck is shaved, or the nape of the neck is kept, and the rest of the head is shaved. Or, for example, if a child has a tail, or braid, or a plait, and the rest of the head is shaved off, they say that is what's meant by al-qaza. Other ulama say that it's any type of hairstyle in which a considerable amount of hair is taken and a considerable amount of hair remains. So we see that there are different views of the people of knowledge on the actual tafsir of al-qaza. That also helps us understanding getting a fade. Because if qaza is haram, or if it's makruh, it may not necessarily apply to a fade. It may not necessarily apply to a mohawk. Alright? Or let's say, for example, a monk braid, as they call it. Now, why is al-qaza haram, or why is it disliked? We know that the Prophet ﷺ forbade it. And that's more than sufficient for us as believers. We don't have to know why. And everything we don't understand, everything we're not going to understand. But when we do understand more, and we do see some of the hikmah and some of the reasons behind the prohibitions, it gives us tranquility and rest at heart. Some of the people of knowledge say that is because it is from the styles of the people of shirk. And the Muslim is prohibited from imitating the people of shirk, as we've explained in the hadith of Ibn Umar. Other ulama say that it is the style of the shaitan. They said that's the hairstyle of Satan. Other ulama say that it is from the style of the fusaq, of the sinners. It is not from the hairstyles of the righteous and the pious. Other ulama say, لَأَنُّ تَشْوِيهُ الْخَلْقِ. They say it distorts Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's natural creation. That's not how the slave or the child is born. The child is born with a bald head or with hair. That's it. There's no half and half in between. And other means of interpretation of al-qaza. So based off of what we have presented, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, hopefully things can become clear that the issue of al-qaza is not a cut and clean issue. It's not a cut and clean issue. It's not black and white. However, the smart Muslim and the wise Muslim will try his or her best to avoid it, regardless, to stay away from the difference of opinion. However, if you see, or if the fatwa has been given to you, or if you yourself have the ability to look and to discern and read these books and understand, and you decide it's not haram, or it doesn't pertain to this hairstyle, or it only pertains to men and not women, because some ulama say that, or just young children, not grown men, not grown women, then that's one thing, la bas. Okay? But if you feel that it's different, confusing, conflicting, then it's best to avoid. It's best to avoid. Alright? However, if you see a Muslim with a mohawk, you don't necessarily go and rip his head off. Alright? Because there's clear difference of opinion among the ulama with regards to the ruling, with regards to the interpretation, with regards to its application. Me, myself, I cannot say, and I will not sit here and say, that getting the fade is, or something that is decisively haram. I didn't say it was permissible. I haven't given my opinion. But what I'm saying here is that I don't have the ability, based off of these pieces of information that we've mentioned briefly, is that is decisively haram. Decisively. That a person can say without a doubt it's haram 100%. Can't necessarily say that. So therefore it's best to avoid. Alright? But if a person doesn't see it like that, and he sees it as permissible, they have the Salaf, the predecessors, from the majority of the ulama of the past, who held that view. There's a brief, humble, simple explanation of the issue, which was a request from one of the hadith disciples. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. If you have further questions or further concerns, then bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please contact us. We will try our best to humbly serve you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows.